Hello, everyone. We're just going to wait a moment here before we go ahead and start the show. Give everybody a few minutes to file in, and we will be ready to go. We just want to do a quick level check here. Are we good? We can. There we go. Our level checks are fantastic. So, fantastic here. Okay. There we go. Let me just make sure that everything is ready to go here. Sometimes it takes a second or so. Very good. Well, hello everyone again, and welcome back to another powerful episode of Think, Dream, Do. My name is James McDonald, and I will be your host for today's live session, How to Create Daily Happiness. This is episode number 26. Yes, we're already at number 26. I'm so excited. There's so many things that I just can't wait to share with you. Again, we've already covered 25 topics, very powerful topics, and here we are again at episode 26. And before we get into today's episode, I'd like to ask, how is your week going? Have you had a good week? Has it been productive? Has it been happy? Has it been unhappy? Well, if it's not lived up to your expectation of happiness, you've landed in the right spot because, again, today's episode is how to create daily happiness. So, now, before we begin, I want to invite everyone listening today to chime in at any time and ask me anything. I'm always looking for listeners, and I'm always looking for your questions. Any way I can help out, I definitely will. Okay? So, please don't be shy. Whatever's on your mind, I am truly interested to know. I will be watching throughout this live session for your questions. So, okay? Now, I truly do believe that today's episode has the power to shift not only your relationships, but also your entire life. So, let's begin, shall we? Let's start talking about how to create daily happiness. Okay? Today's topic, it is something that we all chase, we talk about, and sometimes feel that it's just a little out of reach. Now, I'm not talking about the unrealistic, constant euphoria. What I'm talking about is real, grounded joy, the kind that adds meaning and warmth to your regular, everyday life. So whether you're driving, at the gym, cooking, or just chilling out today, I invite you to settle in, stay open, and take just whatever you need from today's episode, okay? First, what we need to do is we need to start at the root of it all. Let's talk about our mindset, because happiness, more than anything, it's an inside job. And here's the truth. Most of our daily happiness comes down to how we interpret our reality, not just what happens to us, okay? Gratitude, that is a powerful mind shift. You've heard this before, but do you practice it daily? Here's what I would like you to try first. Each morning, before you grab your phone, name 3 things that you're grateful for. Now, here's the other important part. Those 3 things, say them out loud and write them down. They don't even have to be big things. Even my bed was warm, or the quiet. It works. Why does this matter? Because your brain is wired to spot problems. Gratitude rewires it to also see the good. I try to do this every day. This is my thing. I try to say I'm grateful for at least 10 things. If I'm talking to someone in business, I always say, I am so grateful that you called me for my service. I had a good breakfast this morning. If someone made you breakfast, say, I'm very grateful for such a wonderful breakfast. And I'll tell you, when you start doing that, things are going to start changing, and you're going to start building that daily happiness. So, and here's another one, mindfulness, being present right here, right now, because most of us live in the next meeting, next task, next goal. But here's the truth. Happiness lives in the now. Okay? Truly it does. So one simple practice, pause 3 times every day, literally stop, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I experiencing now? Okay? Now, let's move on to number 2. One of my favorite things, the daily habits and the rituals. These are the most important ingredients of how to shape daily happiness. These right here, they're 5 little micro habits, okay? So if you need to, this is a great opportunity. Just write it down now, record it, put it in your mind. These are 5 micro habits that can shift your day. Number 1, move your body. Okay? You don't need a gym. Walk, stretch, dance, anything that involves movement releases endorphins, natural mood boosters. That's right. How about this? Sunlight. Something as simple as sunlight and a little fresh air. Even 5 minutes outside changes your brain chemistry. Morning light especially helps regulate your rhythm, and it boosts serotonin. Here's another important one. Digital boundaries. Avoid, now listen, intentional connection. Reach out to somebody you care about every day. Send them a message, a voice note, a call. Hey, how are you doing? I'm so grateful. See, I even incorporated that. Hey, I'm so grateful that you're my friend. I really appreciate, you being there for me. Just point out one simple thing that you're grateful for with your friends. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to make their day. You see, not only have you now just shaped your daily happiness, you've also helped shape theirs. Happiness is contagious, but you got to produce it. So here's another one. Create before you consume. Before scrolling or reacting to the world, do one creative thing. Write a line. Take a photo. Maybe sketch something. Express yourself. And then, rituals. These are habits with true meaning. Maybe it's as simple as lighting a candle before or during dinner. Saying one nice thing to your partner. Brewing your tea a little more slowly. I'll tell you right now, these tiny little rituals will ground you. I promise you, they will ground you. So, here, I always love to tell stories too. Stories, I believe, are the best way to reinforce any topic. And I've been told so many stories. I just love to share stories. Stories are great because they're inspiring. So let's start about 5 stories that these are based on these micro habits that I was just talking about. These are about real people, and this is simply about real change. Let's talk about Maya, the single mom who started with make the bed. Maya, she was 36 years old raising 2 kids alone after a painful divorce. Each one of her days felt like a blur. Wake up tired, make lunches, go to a job she hated, come home to a mess. Her therapist suggested trying a micro to-do list. What we're talking about right now. Just 3 tiny things a day. Nothing more. Her first thing on her list, make the bed. Drink a glass of water. Text a friend. Maya didn't expect much, but making the bed gave her a small win at 7:30 in the morning. And then that glass of water reminded her that she mattered too. She was thirsty. She needed something to drink. She quenched her thirst with the water. And texting a friend also made her feel less isolated. And Maya stuck with it. Over time, her list grew gently. Apply maybe to one better job. Go for a 10-minute walk. Light a candle before bed. Now, Maya journals every morning, has a part-time photography business, and she smiles when she looks in the mirror. You see, what a transformation that is. What a beautiful transformation. So, you know what she says? She says, that little list helped me remember I still had choices. Now, let's move on to Layla, the burnt-out teacher who found herself again. Layla was 29. She loved teaching until the pandemic. The emotional weight of online learning, student trauma, and school politics absolutely crushed her. She found herself numb, binging Netflix, ignoring text, feeling lost. Now, I only use Netflix as an example. There's nothing wrong with Netflix binging, but a little too much is, anything is not good at all. So one night while Layla was scrolling Instagram, she found a post about the 3 stone habits, micro to-do lists that act like pebbles dropped into the water. But what happens when you drop pebbles into the water? They begin to create ripple effects. She wrote her first one on a sticky note. Open the blinds. Number 2, play a happy song. Number 3, write 1 sentence about today. She repeated it for a week. It felt manageable. The sunlight helped. Music helped more. Writing her slowly helped her out of the fog. Writing is such a beautiful thing. Soon after, she was taking short walks, making art again, smiling at her students. Not every day was perfect, but Layla's joy began to return. Now Layla says, I started small, but I started, and that was everything. You see, the initiation of it all. Just start. Just start with one little thing and build. Even if it seems funny, like I'm going to start the morning by pulling the blinds open or sipping on my coffee a little slower. I'm going to, again, not check my phone for the first 30 minutes. Again, these little rituals in the morning that you're beginning to create, they will begin to take that ripple effect. And that ripple effect is what is going to help you create the daily happiness, you see? So, I love these little stories. Let me tell you about Nora. She was a 50-year-old widow who began again. After losing her husband of 28 years, Nora felt like her life had ended too. Grief pulled her into isolation. She rarely left the house, barely ate, and even dreaded waking up. Now, her daughter suggested gently that she try writing just 3 things to do each morning. Not chores, but little signs of life. Now, this was her first list. Sit on the porch for 10 minutes. Water the plants. Listen to just one classical piece. Now, doing those things, it didn't fix her grief entirely, but what it did do was it created space for her to breathe. Her garden slowly came back to life, and so did she. She ended up joining a local music group of the Pots and Pans Band, I think it was called. She started volunteering once a week. Her sadness didn't completely disappear, but her days began to have a little more color again. And ultimately, she gave her life purpose when she didn't think she had one. Now, let's move on to Jess, the corporate overachiever who chose herself. Jess was, I think it was 33. She was 33 years old, and she was a high-performing marketing executive. On paper, her life was perfect, but behind closed doors, she was very anxious, overwhelmed, and borderline depressed. She lived by massive to-do list that just never ended, went all the way into the night, and none of it made her feel alive. It was actually consuming her. So one Sunday, she happened to hear a podcast, and it said, "Shrink your list until it feels like self-care." Boy, did that hit Jess hard. She said, "What?" As soon as she had her head wrapped around it, she tossed her overstuffed planner and made a micro to-do list. Make coffee slowly. Read for 10 minutes. Say no, and this is an important one, say no to one essential task. That day, it felt really, really weird for her, but it was also the beginning of the change. She kept going, less about tasks, more about values. Her list became acts of self-respect. Over the next year, she ended up downsizing her job, and she launched a creative side business and started dating again, this time with boundaries. So, you know what she said? She said, my to-do list stopped being about productivity, and guess what it became about? It became about my peace. You see? It's all about these little micro to-do lists. And why I keep honing in and emphasizing those is that is the start. That is the initiation. That is those three little things, these micro lists. It's these three little, again, pebbles that you drop into the water that it's going to begin to create that ripple effect and help you shape a daily life built around happiness. So, there you go. Sometimes I pause just to kind of let it sink in, you know. It's kind of like a reaffirmation. You know, I do the same thing. My little list, it might seem unorthodox, you know, but again, just you need to start somewhere. So let's talk about Amber. Let's talk about a college student who reclaimed her mental health. She was 21 years old, drowning in depression in her third year in college. She started missing classes, sleeping all day. She began avoiding friends. She began feeling like a failure. Her counselor said, "Don't plan your day, plan your next 3 steps." Amber resisted at first, but then she decided to try. She started writing 3, again, micro steps on a note card. Okay? These were her simple ones. Brush my teeth, open a laptop, send 1 email to a professor. That was it, plain and simple. But she did them. And doing anything made her feel, at that point in her life when she was at her lowest, like she could do more. Now, you might not be where she's at, but some people are. And just those simple 3 things can be the catalyst behind turning it all around. Okay? Now, weeks passed. Amber began walking again. She reconnected with a few of her roommates, even joined a peer support group. She didn't magically fix her life, but she no longer felt stuck. Now, let's continue with another story, and I've told this story before. It's about a man who after creating a simple to-do list for himself, reshaped his whole outlook on life. And now, instead of being depressed, he is thriving in happiness. Let's talk about Tom. And let's talk about the day that Tom made the list. Tom was 52 years old when everything quietly fell apart in his life. Now, there wasn't exactly a dramatic collapse, no explosion, but what did happen was slow erosion. And that's the worst, because that is the slowness of, sometimes when you have traumatic instances, you can, it's easier to bounce back. But when something is slowly eroding at your happiness, it's not good. You have to, again, retrain your mind and get back in the zone so you can, again, ultimately reclaim some happiness in your life. So Tom, he worked in IT. It was great money, stable job, lived alone in his small apartment outside Portland. He wasn't in any obvious crisis, but each day was monotonous, felt the same, gray, silent, heavy. He'd wake up exhausted, go through the motions, scrolling endlessly at night. He didn't get much sleep, and it was rinse and repeat day after day after day. For a while, he didn't even notice how low he'd sunk. Very scary, very scary. But then, one Thursday morning, he stood in front of his bathroom mirror, his toothbrush in his hand, and he just stared at himself. He was unshaven. His eyes were droopy, shoulders slouched. He almost looked like someone waiting for his own life to end. It was terrible. That day at work, he missed a meeting because he simply forgot it. And he never forgot meetings. His manager, kind but concerned, asked him gently, "Hey, Tom, is everything okay with you?" Tom nodded. "Oh, it's okay. I'm just tired." But inside, something cracked, because he realized he wasn't just tired. He was empty. That night, Tom didn't turn on the TV, didn't scroll. He just sat on the couch in the dark, staring into the quiet. He thought about calling somebody, but who? He'd grown so distant from most people that he didn't even have a name at the top of his list to call. His family loved him, but lived far, so he couldn't just go over, and talk to somebody. Now, his friends, they were pretty much busy with their own kids and their lives, and Tom hadn't dated in years. But then, Tom remembered something. It was a random YouTube video he watched weeks earlier. He was kind of half distracted, but the guy in the video said, "If you don't know what to do with your life, just do the next tiny thing. Make that micro to-do list. 3 things, that's it. Not for success, but for survival." I felt stupid at first, but Tom was out of options. He simply was out of options. So he grabbed a sticky note, and with his shaky hands, he wrote, "I need to take a shower. I need to eat something with color. Step outside for 5 minutes." That was it. It sounds pathetic, but sometimes this is what can happen with our lives when we begin to slip into that darkness and we don't have the support system. If you're living alone. So again, I suggest not only just making these micro to-do lists. If that's where you're at, if this is your search situation right now, is reach out to anybody that you know. And, Instagram is great. There are so many communities out there with like-minded individuals, and just open up, and say, this is what's on my mind. What does everybody think about this? I promise you, you're going to give you a pouring of attention. Help. So you just can't be too proud to ask for the help. So let's get back to Tom's to-do list. That was it. His list, it wasn't self-care. He didn't post it online. He just took these little sticky notes and stuck it onto the refrigerator. And for the first time in weeks, he followed through. Tom took himself a nice hot shower, made scrambled eggs, and added some spinach. Now, I won't be going over to Tom's house for breakfast. I don't like spinach. But anyway, it's funny, the example. So anyway, Tom opened his door for the first time, stood outside barefoot, feeling the cold air bite his skin, and said, "This feels good." It wasn't life-changing, but the most important part is it felt real because life was coming back into his body. Now, the next morning, Tom made another list. Again, it seems silly. Make the bed. Drink another bottle of water. Play a song that makes me feel something. He chose a song from something he heard in his 20s. And I'm trying to remember the song that, because this was told to me by him. I think it was something it was something by the Beatles. So not the most emotional song, but it's a song that has feelings. So it hit Tom hard. He even cried a little. He didn't even know why. You want to know? It's because for the first time he'd felt something in a while. So he kept doing this, not crying, but so he kept these little micro lists coming. You know, some days he forgot. Some days he only just put one thing down. But again, whatever was on the list got him moving. And at week 2, he added, text someone, even if it's awkward. Walk around the block. Hey, watch the sunset. All these things are free to do. You just have to make the decision to get out and do it. Tom texted his younger sister, "Hey, it's been a while. How are you doing today?" And you know what? She replied in minutes. And you know what? They started texting weekly. Eventually, they started texting on the phone. They reconnected as a family. And the sunset walk, it cracked something open. He started noticing the smell of trees, the feel of the wind, the way light changed on the rooftops. It reminded him of being young, curious, awake. You know, the outdoors is amazing. You get out, you know, even if you're living in the inner city, find a park, find a time when you can be there when maybe there's not a lot of people, where you can find some solitude or peace. If not, mingle amongst everybody. Everybody's there for usually the same thing, to have a nice time and to be out in the elements of nature. So, you know, where I live, there is a bird sanctuary nearby, and there's so many people from the Audubon Society out there just having a blast, taking photos of birds. And I'll tell you, to see some of the people, and they're probably in their 80s, feeling so giddy by just taking pictures of birds, and, you know, talking about, I was here and I captured this eagle leaving the nest for the first time, or whatnot. You know, again, nature. So now, by month 2 with Tom wasn't just surviving, he was beginning to reassemble himself. Tom ended up joining a men's group at a local community center. And yeah, at first it scared him because he was being vulnerable around strangers. But after the first session, he said, "I've been lonely for a long time, and I didn't know how to say that out loud." And you know what? One guy came over, looked at him, leaned down, and patted him on the back. Another nodded. No judgment, just presence. Something to think about. Tom's list began to evolve. Journal for 5 minutes. Try something new and zany this week. Cook a real meal. No frozen macaroni and cheese anymore. Good for Tom. He started trying recipes out, bought a real chef's knife, watched YouTube cooking channels. It wasn't amazing, but he felt engaged. You see, now he got so inspired by this cooking, he even invited a neighbor over for dinner one weekend. And you know what? They started talking about jazz. It turned out that they both played saxophone in high school. Now, fast forward 6 months later to that first sticky note, Tom was unrecognizable. He had a morning ritual, light stretching, good coffee, his 3-item list. He had a small circle of people now who saw him regularly. He played guitar again, just for himself. He wasn't pretending that his life was perfect. You know, he still had down days, but he wasn't stuck anymore. One day, a friend from the men's group asked, Tom, what was it that finally changed things for you? Tom looked up and smiled. He said, I just stopped trying to fix my whole life. I just started doing 3 things daily that made me feel alive. Tom didn't have a breakthrough. What he had was a micro shift, a series of tiny, manageable actions that built trust in himself. He learned that depression often thrives in overwhelm, and that healing doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing something, and I quote this, consistently. Consistency is everything. With Tom's micro list, he was being consistent. And within that consistency, his life began to bloom with these little micro, because he kept adding to them. Again, more and more and more. It was almost like he was planting a garden in his mind, and everything was growing and coming to fruition. It was a beautiful thing. So, you know, this story about Tom, it isn't flashy. It's not a viral before and after, but the most important part, it's real, and it did start with a list. A shower. Eat something with color. Step outside. Now, let's move on to relationships and connection. I know I was talking about that before. So let's start talking about people in general, because we, as humans, obviously, we are wired for connection. And one of the strongest predictors of happiness is the quality of our relationships. But now here's the twist. It's not about the number of friends you have. It's about the depth. So right now, take a brief moment and ask yourself this. Who do I have in my life who lifts me up? Who do I feel safe being around by myself? If you're not sure, try being that person for somebody else, because kindness spreads. Also, practice a little vulnerability. Say what you mean. Express some appreciation. Tell someone exactly why you love them. Just don't say, I love you. Just say why you love them. And don't wait. Reinforce that. Lastly, spend time with people who laugh. Because I'll tell you right now, laughter, as you probably well know, it is social glue, and it will naturally boost your mood. And now, let's talk about some purpose and meaning behind all this. You see, happiness isn't just about what feels good. It's also about what feels meaningful. Think about this. Are you doing at least one thing each day that aligns with your values? Purpose doesn't mean that you need to change the world. It means that you need to do something that matters to you. Maybe that's helping someone. Maybe it's working on a long-term goal. Maybe it's simply being calm. Or maybe a calming presence in your family. Try this. Ask yourself, What kind of person do I want to be today? Then do one thing that reflects that. Also, wherever you can, always try to help others. Studies show how acts of kindness increases your own happiness too. Small things count. And now, let's move on to challenges and staying. Now, here it is again, consistent. Being consistent. Okay? Very, very, very important. So, some days are going to be hard. You're not going to always feel amazing. But here's how to stay consistent. Track what works in your life. What lifts you in your list of joyful things. Sometimes you simply need to just forgive yourself. If you missed a routine, you're human. Start again tomorrow. Stay curious. What else could you possibly explore? There's a whole world out there. And on tough days, remember, just take one breath at a time, because that one simple shift can set the tone for your entire day. Shifting your mindset is going to put you on the pathway to shaping a more rich and happy daily life. I promise you this. So again, if we rewind back to the beginning here, let's just start with 3 little things each day. I don't care if you're saying I'm the happiest person ever. It doesn't matter how happy you are. What matters is the meaningfulness of your life. So starting with these 3 little micro habits, again, will begin to give you a more rich and meaningful life. Okay? How can one person be too happy, right? Hey, listen, everybody. I just want to say how grateful I am today that you stopped by to check out today's live stream on how to shape daily happiness and how to create a pathway towards betterness and self-improvement. I'm so thankful that for all the new subscribers to the channel, because again, I set out a few months back to create a community that will help one another. That's my whole goal, is to help you grow, heal, and rise. Okay? And yeah, we're talking about some real interesting topics out there, and some are even a little edgy, like not yesterday, the day before yesterday, we were talking about how to deal with a mean family. If you missed that episode, that's an interesting one. I think I was speaking for about an hour and a half on that, even due to my own life experiences. So, because again, family is so, everybody knows family is important. And sometimes our families aren't treating us correctly. So there's little tips and tricks on how to deal with that. So anyway, I just want to say to everyone, I wish you a pleasant and lovely rest of your day. And I look forward to being back here in a few days. Every second day, I'm usually doing a live stream. I have so many topics that I want to share and discuss with everyone. It's just, there's so many topics just bursting at the seams of, daily issues and things that you can do to help better your life. And I just really enjoy being here. And I'm so grateful that there are folks in the community that are taking the time to join me. And let's go through this together, because again, if you can think it, you can dream it. And I promise you, if you can dream it, you can do it. That's the motto. Think, dream, do. Everybody, again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I so much look forward to seeing you again. There's going to be another cool topic that is on the horizon. I'm working on it right now. I was working on it really, really diligently today, and I can't wait to share it with you on the next live session. Everybody take care. And I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.